What if you could play arcade classic games with a custom arcade joystick on an original Xbox? That was the goal of this project. Not only to have something that just worked, but a joystick with a unique aesthetic and feel. In this journey, we will go over the planning, design, woodworking, painting, staining, testing, wiring, and also some mistakes made along the way. The planning process included the need for one analog stick, as well as one fully functional analog trigger and sheath. The primary control would be 6-button fighting game compatibility, as well as 4-button NEO-Geo style control. This also included basic 1 and 2 button controls. In order to collect all the juicy navigation and coin and start buttons, it was required to manipulate the pads and really probe an old Xbox controller to oblivion. So now that we know the plan and the end result, let's take a look at the design process. In order to make the analog stick and analog triggers protected from dust, and also to make sure it didn't have exposed connections, it was required to make protective sheaths. This process of making 3D models in Blender not only enabled me to visualize the end result, but also many of the models were used to make resin-based protective sheaths that I later primed and painted. That was after the curing process, of course. And you can see here I'm testing that I have the size right, because if the sheath was too large or too small, it wouldn't make sense with the actual controllers. The woodworking inlay process was actually the impetus for the entire project. I wanted to learn as much as possible regarding woodworking power tools for both gaming related and home repair purposes. The goal was to have a more complex structure of a trapezoid as the base shape for the arcade controller. After drilling the primary holes, the next step was to use hand chisels for the inlay. Once the inlay area was chiseled out, I used gold-colored paint to fill the chiseled areas, and the structure itself, being basically two trapezoids put together, had holes in order to make it so the wires could go out, and also for the locking mechanism. And then that structure there was to hold the brain in place. And there you can see the locking latches with their spring-loaded nature and a little bit of the initial staining process. Yeah, the spring-loaded latches made it so the top really stayed in place well, and I kind of used counter tension to keep it all working properly. And then now, see, as you can see there, it's very tight. And I mean, that top is going nowhere during gameplay, especially during a fighting game. You don't want the top to wiggle around. Now, the design process here, I'm making sure that the trapezoids can open and close, because, you know, one mistake and the whole thing's botched. So really wanted to think through the process before just jumping into it. And the hinges, that worked out great. Didn't have to spend a whole lot on that. And I used a hand router for making the primary joystick a little bit more recessed, so it was as flush as possible without, you know, causing damage to the wooden top. Now here's the problem I had. As you can see here, closing the top was having a little bit of trouble. So I had to make a scallop very carefully using the electric Dremel in order to get the top to even close. But after a lot of effort and a very couple of passes, it worked out great, and I was very happy with how it turned out. This is the golden sheaths. I kind of wanted to give it a little bit of a cool look because I put so much effort into it, so I might as well make them gold, right? And then put some shining lacquer on them. That was a really fun process, and had to go through a couple tries on the resin sheaths, but it worked. Now, I'm going to need some jumper wires in order to make this work. Where did I put them? Oh, here we go. There's my jumper wires. Great. Time to get to work. This job is just started. Nowhere near done. We got the top all done, but now it's time to actually connect have connectors to the brain. Hi, yeah, that's going to be a hot minute there. Okay, it's time to jump right into it. So first was the daisy chain of ground for the primary controls for coin, start, pause in general, or menu. And I used a testing program to get that working. One thing with this is I wanted to make it modular, so I used probes. And by having the probes connected to jumpers, I could use this for any project I want. I could use it for a completely different brain if I wanted. But it did require me to convert the jumper wires to hap connections, as you can see here. So I just soldered it. Pretty straightforward. And then here you can see me adding some insulation to the connection, and it worked out great. I had a bunch of them, and at first I used alligator clips to test them, and then after they worked, and then so just snapped them in place. So here you can see the alligator clip. Now this is an interesting part because the daisy chain was different for the letter buttons like X, B, A, as they comparatively to the directional pad and like the back and start. So the daisy chain for the directional pad used ground, but for the other one, as you can see with the red wire, required that I daisy chained on power, or the 5 volt. So that was counterintuitive, and I just thought it might be worth mentioning here because that took a little bit of thinking to get through. And here's the end result, and it just was a great experience, and I really hope that you enjoyed going on this experience with me. If you liked the video, please give it a like and a subscribe, and that really helps me figure out what content that people enjoy. And one thing I wanted to do was say thanks so much to my friends and family that probably have heard me talk about this project for the last 9 months, and then they're probably like, what is this guy working on here? What is he doing? Well, this is what I've been doing, and I've definitely learned a massive amount. My woodworking, wiring, soldering, planning skills have definitely gone up for the project, and it's just been a ton of fun. Every day coming home from work was just like, I can't wait to work on it, learn something new. And one thing I would definitely say is that, if you give yourself a fun project like this, it can be a driving force into learning new things. And so I'm the kind of person where there has to be something to gain from a project just outside, like beyond just a academic application. I want to be able to actually get my hands dirty and work on something, and I want to be learning something new, and this definitely provided a great opportunity to do that. And I mean, the Capcom Classics collection here just was the perfect game to test on it. I got the game from eBay, and it just was so cool. They did such a great job porting Street Fighter 2, and there was a bunch of other ones like Ghouls and Ghosts and stuff on the collection. And so I just thank you so much for watching the video and going on this journey with me, and I just hope you have a great rest of your day, and great time working on projects if you do any yourself. Anyway, talk to you later, and hope to see you again on Averodon TV.